Excuses will always be there if you look for them. There will always be a reason to put things off. There will always be distractions trying to pull you away from what you need to do. But if you let excuses control you, you'll stay exactly where you are. The most successful people aren't the ones with the most time, the best circumstances, or the easiest path. They're the ones who show up and do the work no matter what. There will be days when you don't feel like it, days when you're tired, days when you're discouraged, days when you question whether it's even worth it. That's when it matters the most. Anyone can be consistent when things are easy. But real growth happens when you push through the tough days. Every time you show up despite the resistance, you get stronger. Every time you do what you said you would do, you build self-respect. And over time, that consistency turns into results. The people you surround yourself with have a direct impact on your mindset, your habits, and your future. You might not realize it, but the energy, attitudes, and behaviors of the people around you influence the way you think and act every single day. If you spend time with negative, lazy, or unmotivated people, their mindset will start to rub off on you. If you're constantly around people who complain, make excuses, and blame the world for their problems, it won't be long before you start doing the same thing. But if you surround yourself with driven, positive, and successful people, you will naturally start to think and act like them. One of the biggest reasons people stay stuck in life is because they are surrounded by the wrong crowd. They hold on to relationships that drain them. They stay in circles where growth is not encouraged. They listen to people who tell them their dreams are too big or their goals are unrealistic. And because they hear these things so often, they start to believe them. If you want to elevate your life, you have to be willing to evaluate your circle. Take a look at the people you spend the most time with and ask yourself, are they pushing me forward or holding me back? If you are the most motivated, the most ambitious, and the hardest working person in your group, that's a problem. You should be in a circle that challenges you to do better. Some people feel guilty about outgrowing certain relationships, but growth requires change. It doesn't mean you have to cut people off completely or stop loving them. It just means you have to be intentional about the energy you allow into your life. If someone constantly brings negativity, doubt, or drama, you have to limit your exposure to that energy. Protecting your mindset is just as important as working hard. You can have all the ambition in the world, but if you're constantly surrounded by people who drain you, doubt you, or discourage you, it will be much harder to stay focused and motivated. Success leaves clues. If you want to improve in any area of your life, find people who are already where you want to be and learn from them. If you want to be successful in business, spend time around people who are business-minded. If you want to get in shape, surround yourself with people who value health and fitness. If you want to have a strong mindset, listen to people who speak life and positivity. The people you associate with will either lift you higher or pull you down. Sometimes the people closest to you won't understand your journey. They might not support your goals, they might laugh at your ambitions, and they might even try to talk you out of chasing your dreams. That's why it's so important to surround yourself with like-minded people who believe in growth, who support your vision, and who push you to be better. You don't have to wait for the right people to come to you. Go find them. Join communities, attend events, read books from successful people, listen to podcasts that inspire you, fill your mind and your environment with the kind of energy you want to attract. One of the most dangerous things you can do is keep people in your life just because of history. Just because you've known someone for years doesn't mean they are good for your future. Just because someone has been part of your life for a long time doesn't mean they should have access to you forever. Growth requires making hard choices. It requires recognizing when certain relationships no longer serve you and having the courage to create distance. When you surround yourself with the right people, everything in your life changes. You become more motivated. You start thinking bigger. You develop better habits. You begin to see new possibilities because the people around you inspire you to aim higher. The right circle will hold you accountable, encourage you when you feel like giving up, and remind you of your potential when you doubt yourself. The wrong circle will drain your energy, fill your mind with doubt, and keep you stuck in the same place. If you've ever felt like you were meant for more but couldn't quite figure out why you weren't making progress, take a look at the people around you. Pay attention to the conversations you're having. Are they about ideas, opportunities, and growth, or are they about gossip, complaints, and excuses? Are the people around you pushing you to be better, or are they comfortable staying the same and expecting you to do the same? These are the questions you have to ask yourself if you're serious about improving your life. Excuses will always be available, but they will never move you forward. Every single day, people talk themselves out of opportunities, success, and growth because they allow excuses to take control. They say they don't have enough time, but they waste hours on distractions. They say they don't have enough money, but they spend on things that don't serve them. They say they don't have enough experience, but they refuse to start where they are. Excuses sound good in the moment, but in the end, they keep you exactly where you are. People often convince themselves that their excuses are valid. They blame their past, their circumstances, their upbringing, or even other people for why they aren't where they want to be. But there is always someone who started with less and still found a way. There is always someone who had every reason to quit but kept going anyway. The difference between those who succeed and those who don't is not talent, luck, or resources. It's mindset. The people who succeed refuse to let excuses define them. They find solutions instead of reasons to quit. One of the biggest excuses people use is time. They say they don't have enough time to work out, start a business, learn a new skill, or improve themselves. But the truth is, time is not the problem. Priorities are. Everyone gets the same 24 hours in a day, but not everyone uses them the same way. Some people spend hours scrolling through social media, watching TV, or doing things that don't bring them closer to their goals. If something is important enough, you will make time for it. The key is to stop making time for distractions and start making time for growth. Another common excuse is fear. People don't start because they're afraid of failure, afraid of what others will think, or afraid of stepping out of their comfort zone. Fear is natural, but it cannot be an excuse to do nothing. Growth only happens when you push past fear and take action anyway. Every successful person has faced fear, but they did not let it stop them. They moved forward despite it. The more you take action, the less power fear has over you. Some people blame their lack of resources. They say they don't have enough money, the right connections, or the right education. But history has shown that some of the most successful people in the world started with nothing. They didn't wait for perfect conditions. They worked with what they had and built from there. The biggest mistake you can make is thinking that you need everything figured out before you start. Success is not about having the perfect setup. It's about making progress with what you have right now. People also use their past as an excuse. They tell themselves they can't succeed because they've failed before, because they grew up in difficult circumstances, or because they made mistakes. But your past does not determine your future unless you let it. Every day is a new opportunity to rewrite your story. The only way to move forward is to stop looking backward. The most successful people in the world have failed, made mistakes, and faced setbacks, but they did not let those things define them. They used them as lessons and kept going. Accountability is one of the most important ways to eliminate excuses. If you surround yourself with people who accept your excuses, you will stay stuck. But if you have people in your life who push you, challenge you, and call you out when you're making excuses, you will grow. The people who succeed don't wait for someone to come save them. They take responsibility for their actions, choices, and results. When you stop making excuses, you take back control of your life. You stop waiting for things to get easier and start making things happen. You stop blaming your circumstances and start finding solutions. You stop settling for less and start demanding more from yourself. Growth, success, and self-improvement all begin when you stop looking for reasons why you can. Failure is not the opposite of success. It is part of success. Too many people see failure as a sign to stop, as proof that they are not good enough, smart enough, or capable enough. But failure is not a reason to quit. It is a lesson, a teacher, and a necessary step in the process of growth. Every person who has achieved something great has failed probably more times than they can count. The difference is they did not let failure define them. They used it to learn, to adjust, and to come back stronger. The problem is that most people have been taught to fear failure. From a young age, failure is seen as something negative. In school, you are punished for failing a test. In society, you are judged for failing. In business, in relationships, or in any other area of life. But failure is only negative if you let it be. If you choose to see it as proof that you should stop, then it will hold you back. But if you choose to see it as a stepping stone, as something that makes you better, then it will push you forward. The most successful people in the world have failed repeatedly. Thomas Edison failed thousands of times before he created the light bulb. Michael Jordan was cut from his high school basketball team. Oprah Winfrey was told she wasn't fit for television. Walt Disney was told he had no creativity. The list goes on and on. These people did not let failure stop them. They understood that failure is part of the process, and they kept going despite. That is why they succeeded. One of the biggest reasons people give up after failing is because they take failure personally. They think that failing means they are not good enough, or that they are not meant to succeed. But failure is not a reflection of who you are, it is simply feedback. It is telling you what didn't work so you can adjust and try again. The people who grow the most are the ones who are willing to fail, learn from it, and keep moving forward. Fear of failure stops more people than failure itself. Some people never even try because they are afraid of what might happen if they fail. They are afraid of looking bad, of disappointing others, of feeling embarrassed. But in reality, the only true failure is never trying at all. Every time you take a risk, step outside your comfort zone, or try something new, there is a chance you might fail. But there is also a chance you might succeed, and you will never know which one it will be unless you try. One of the best ways to overcome the fear of failure is to change the way you see it. Instead of looking at failure as an end, look at it as a step forward. Instead of thinking of failure as losing, think of it as learning. Every failure contains a lesson, and those lessons are what make you stronger. If you never fail, you would never grow. If everything came easy, you would never develop the resilience, the skills, and the mindset needed to succeed. One of the most powerful things you can do is reframe failure as progress. If you failed, it means you took action. It means you put yourself out there and try. That alone is more than most people ever do. Every failure brings you closer to success because it teaches you what works and what doesn't. The key is to not let failure make you stop. Learn from it, adjust your approach, and keep going. Resilience is built through failure. The more you fail and get back up, the stronger you become. Every time you overcome a setback, you develop mental toughness. Every time you push through failure, you build confidence. Confidence does not come from never failing. It comes from knowing that even if you fail, you have the strength to get back up. The only people who never fail are the ones who never try. If you want to improve, grow, and reach your full potential, you have to be willing to fail. You have to be willing to take risks, make mistakes, and learn from them. The road to success is not a straight line. It is full of twists, turns, and obstacles. But those obstacles are not there to stop you. They are there to make you stronger.